We are now ready to solve problems involving work. So let's recap our strategy that we are going to use whenever we want to solve a problem involving work done between two or more people or things. First, we want to find expressions for A and B, where A and B are the amount of time it takes each person or thing respectively to complete the task. Now I will note that sometimes these expressions, A and B, will involve an unknown variable quantity, like X or T. Second, we want to use the formula 1 over A plus 1 over B equals 1 over T to write an equation involving the unknown. Finally, step 3, we will solve the equation using our techniques for solving rational equations. Let's take a look at our first example. A tank can be filled in 18 hours by pipe A alone, and in 22 hours by pipe B alone. How long will it take to fill the tank if both pipes are working together? Now this problem is very similar to the original problem that we looked at regarding work, where we had a swimming pool that was being filled by two different hoses. In this case, we have a tank, and we have two pipes. The first pipe would take 18 hours to fill the tank. The second pipe would take 22 hours. So the question is, how long would it take to fill the tank together? Well, let's approach this problem using the formula that we generated to solve work problems. Recall our work formula stated that 1 over A plus 1 over B equals 1 over T, where 1 over A is the rate it would take to fill the tank if the first pipe worked alone. 1 over B would be the rate that it took to fill the tank if pipe B worked alone. And 1 over T is the rate at which the tank could be filled if the pipes worked together. Now, since I have my work formula, I simply want to use this formula to make it easy on myself and fill in values for A, B, and T. So let's identify A. A is the amount of time it takes for pipe A to fill the tank. And so A is simply 18 hours. B is the amount of time it takes for pipe B to fill the tank. Pipe B can fill the tank in 22 hours, so B is simply 22. And T is the amount of time it takes for the tank to be filled if both pipes work together. However, this is an unknown. We don't know how long it takes for the tank to be filled if both the pipes are working together. In fact, this is what we're looking for. So this is our variable quantity X. It will take those pipes working together to fill the tank X hours. Substituting these into our work formula give us the following equation. One over 18 plus 1 over 22 equals 1 over X. This is the rational equation that we can use to solve this work problem. Now, how do we solve rational equations? Well, let's recall. The first thing we need to do is to identify our LCD. So off to the side here, let's figure out what the LCD would be for this problem. The least common denominator is the least common denominator, or the smallest number, in which 18, 22, and X all divide into. So to generate our LCD, first of all, we like to look, especially because these numbers are larger, I like to look at the prime factorizations for each of these. 22 is 2 times 11. 18 is 2 times 9, which we could break down as 2 times 3 times 3. And recall, the LCD has to take each of these factors and make sure they're included. So we look at the factor 2, and it's included once both places, so our LCD only needs it included once. The factor 3 appears twice, so we must show two factors of 3 in our LCD. The factor 11 appears once, and the factor x appears once. So that means that the LCD for our problem is actually going to be 2 times 3 times 3 times 11, which is just 198x. Now, after we've identified the LCD, the next thing is to take that LCD and multiply each term in our equation by that LCD. So we have 1 over 18, and I'm going to rewrite our equation right here, plus 1 over 22 equals 1 over x, and I will restate again that when we have a rational equation, one of the easiest ways to solve is to take our LCD and multiply it through times each term in our equation. So that means we'll take 198x and multiply it times 1 over 18, 198x and multiply it times 1 over 22, and 198x and multiply it times 1 over x. And the reason we do that is because this will now allow us to cancel the denominators with these factors that we've multiplied by, our LCD. In fact, 18 goes into 198 11 times, so we can cancel the 18 with the 198. 22 goes into 198 9 times, and x goes into 198x, canceling the x's. That leaves us with the equation 11 times x times 1, which is just 11x, plus 9 times x times 1, which is 9x, equals 198. And this is now a simple linear equation that we can finish using our techniques for solving linear equations, which we do so very well. 11x plus 9x is 20x, so we have 20x equals 198. Dividing both sides by 20 tells us that x, the amount of time it takes for these pipes to work together, is simply 198 divided by 20, which we want to reduce to 99 over 10 by dividing top and bottom by 2. And that's as far as that can be reduced. So we would say that it takes 99/10 of an hour for the tank to be filled if both pipes work together. Or, if you wish, that's 9 9/10 of an hour, which we could also think of as 9.9 hours, right? So almost 10 hours for the tank to be filled if both pipe A and pipe B work together. So recapping, when you encounter a work problem, one good way to solve is to use the work formula. Identify what A, B, and T are from your problem, and then solve that resulting equation, that rational equation, by finding the least common denominator, clearing our denominators, and finishing by solving the resulting equation. Let's move ahead and look at our second example. Example 2. Joseph can paint a house in 12 hours. With the help of Andrew, the two together can paint the house in 8 hours. How long would it take Andrew to paint the house if he was working alone? Let's recall our work formula. 1 over A plus 1 over B equals 1 over T. For our particular problem, A represents the amount of time that it takes for Joseph to paint the house alone. B represents the amount of time that it takes for Andrew to paint the house alone. and t represents the amount of time that it would take both of them, Joseph and Andrew, to paint the house together. Let's identify each of those variables. A is the amount of time it takes for Joseph to paint the house alone, which is 12 hours. We get that right from our problem. B is the amount of time it takes for Andrew to paint the house alone. But notice this time, unlike our first example, we're not told how long it would take Andrew to work alone. So that's where our unknown is this time. Andrew, we don't know, but we will assign it X hours. Finally, T is the amount of time it takes for the two to paint the house together. And we are told that that's 8. So for this equation, we have that A is 12, B is X, and T is 8. So let's rewrite our work formula with these values substituted in. We have 1 over 12 plus 1 over X equals 1 over 8. We have a resulting rational equation that we solve by first identifying the LCD, which I'll do off to the side here. We have 12, X, and 8 to consider. And if we break these down into prime factorizations, 8 is 2 times 2 times 2, 12 is 2 times 2 times 3, and our LCD must contain 3 factors of 2, 1 factor of 3, and an X. That tells us that our LCD is simply 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, or 24X. Some of you might simply have been able to look at 12 and 8 and say that the smallest number they both divide into is 24. And you can go directly to that step without listing the prime factors if you want. And we want to multiply each term in our rational equation by 24. So let me rewrite our rational equation. 1 over 12 plus 1 over X equals 1 over 8. And now let me multiply each term in that rational equation by 24x. And the reason we do that is so that we can then cancel our denominators. So let's see, 12 cancels with 24, leaving us with 2. X will cancel with X, and 8 will cancel with 24, leaving us with 3. And that tells us that this first term is simply 2 times x times 1, which is just 2x. 24 times 1, which is just 24. And that's equal to 3 times x times 1, which is 3x. We have turned our rational equation into a simple linear equation that we can finish solving. We want to get the variables together, the 2x and the 3x. I'm going to do that by moving the 2x from the left side and putting it onto the right side. So I'll subtract 2x from both sides. That gives us 24 equals 3x minus 2x, which is just 1x. And what do you know? We've solved this rational equation. X, which represented the amount of time it took for Andrew to paint the house, is simply 24 hours. So we can state that it took Andrew 24 hours to paint the house.